This is Fins TV, a Miami Dolphins-inspired podcast. It's fueled by the power of positivity.
Welcome to Fins TV. Your host is Sammy, aka Fins Person. And also my co-host Steve. Welcome to a New Year's resolution edition of Fins TV.
It is the last episode of 2024. I'm excited to be here. Hey, we're celebrating a victory. It is Victory Monday. It is Victory Monday, last one of the year. So really looking forward to talking with you. I feel like we've got a lot of interesting topics, in the hunt with the last game coming up here, a lot of different scenarios. And I'm excited for this episode because we welcome a very, very old dear friend of mine to the show. So I'm really looking forward to this week's episode.
Absolutely. We're going to welcome Antwan V Staley of the Daily News New York. Long time friend of yours. You're going to probably tell one of those. Huge story of your life we had to do with Antwan, I'm pretty sure. We're going to do some Fins resolutions. We're going to do some resolutions for the Dolphins. We're going to ask Antwan what's his resolution for the Jets. And this Saturday will be the 95th birthday of the legend, the greatest coach of all time, Don Shula. So we're going to have a little bit of retrospective on Don Shula. We're going to share what we meant Don Shula, the greatest coach of all time, and probably now, hopefully, his record will live forever.
Yep. No, it's going to be a very, very good show, and for that one, I've got something fully prepared for that as well. So
that's awesome. Hopefully I don't spoil the surprise before that. But let's go straight to the highlights of the Browns getting snooped by the Dolphins.
It's more pressure on the quarterback.
On second down, quick pass to Jonnu Smith, and he's got some room. A 54-yard attempt for Sam.
More pressure on the quarterback.
On second down, quick pass to Jonnu Smith, and he's got some room. A 54-yard attempt for Sanders, the reigning AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. Kick on the way, and it is off the upright and through. Off the crossbar, I should say, not the upright, but what a kick by Sanders. Just get it off in time, a pitch to Ford. Chased out by Brooks. What a tackle by Jordan Brooks. Dan Marino is in attendance today for the Dolphins. As Huntley throwing on first down. He's got a man. It's Tyreek Hill, and he's tripped up by Denzel Ward. Drives. See if they can get something here. Thompson Robinson over the middle again, and he's picked off. Intercepted by Dotson.
Jerry Jeudy on the other side of the ball.
3rd down and 8. Huntley fires. He's got a first down. Catch is made by River Craycraft. Jeff Wilson enters as the running back. Huntley rolling right. He's going to keep it himself at the 10. 5. Cuts it up to the end zone. And he is no signal yet. Touchdown. Snoop scores, and the Dolphins have the first touchdown today. First down and 10. Thompson Robinson tripped up by Calais Campbell. Thompson Robinson to the end zone. It is broken up, incomplete. Jalen Ramsey got a hand on it. Accomplishment by Myles Garrett on 3rd and 8. Huntley trying to step up, gets away. Huntley picks up the first down. Huntley still going. And Tyler Huntley to the 46-yard line. Haley gets it away, and over-end kick. Prochet will watch it bounce, and will it go into the end zone? It will not. Takes a Dolphins roll. And down to the 2.
Down the stretch.
Huntley throwing on 2nd and 9. Tyreek Hill has another catch. Gets away at the 10, and Hill down to the 6-yard line. 2nd and goal. Huntley throwing. That one's caught by Jonnu Smith. Touchdown! And on that touchdown, he ties the Miami Dolphins franchise record for most touchdowns in a season by a tight end.
Even if you don't make the playoffs, you build on something, and you have something to keep your growth going for in 2025. But hopefully for this Miami team, hopefully for Calais Campbell, they do get into the postseason and they can change for whatever's in the future.
20-3 is the final score.
I feel like that meme or that video was like, oh, look at us. Who would have thought? Not me, because if you ask me, me, I didn't expect the Dolphins to actually pull around. The Dolphins went from 6-6 to 8-8, right? So they're basically now really on the hunt. They need a lot of help. They need to find a way for the Chiefs to the Chiefs bench to beat the Broncos. So I want to know your thoughts about the game yesterday with Tua getting hurt again and on the sidelines for the game.
Well, first of all, the Tua injury, I think, caught everybody that isn't inside the training facility by surprise. I mean, nobody saw that coming. He hit doubtful the day before the game, and all of a sudden we're like, what? Doubtful? And then, it starts to, you have flashbacks to the games that we didn't have Tua this season, and you're just thinking, great, here we go again. But seriously, the defense, Huntley and Sanders, huge props to all of them. Huntley first, just quickly, he stepped up and did a ton of stuff extremely well, which wasn't the case when we saw him earlier in the season, which I don't know if I necessarily blame him for that. The defense, what an incredible game. Tyrell Dodson, he was all over the place. 11 tackles, had that incredible interception. I think he's got, I don't think that was his first interception. I think that was his second.
Yes.
Jordan Brooks, 137 tackles so far this season. And it actually seems like he's gotten better as the year has gone on. So, if you're looking where we were last year, we had number 55 Jerome Baker back there, who was often, banged up and everything. And injuries can happen to anybody, but Jordan Brooks seems to have aged very, very well, like a fine wine this season. And by the way, we have him locked down for 3 years. So 2 more years after this. I don't know what the exact structure looks like. Maybe one of the years is some type of restructure or something like that. But I'm happy to know that we have somebody that's solid. I didn't listen to his post-game speech in the locker room, but from what I understand, it was something incredible from a leadership standpoint. Defensive resurgence in general, it's been spotty, but this game really was a carry forward. It seems like when Tua's not in for the games, all of a sudden the defense seems to show up in an entirely different way. Probably coincidence or something like that, but Calais Campbell, he wasn't making tons of tackles, but he was all over the place, disrupting stuff, had a huge tackle for loss there. I'm not one to say, hey, throw, the Brinks truck at somebody like that. I don't know what it's going to take for him to come back to Miami next year as 39-year-old, but I really would not be disappointed to see him lining up for another year next to Zach Sealer. So it was a great game by Huntley. Sanders did what we needed him to do. I really credit the defense for giving us an opportunity and really putting together an incredible performance.
Absolutely. This is the kind of game that usually the Dolphins find a way to, play to the level of the competition. So my expectation was not that big. And to the start of the game, the Dolphins were in that kind of mood that you could not start the game, the offense rolling. But I'll tell you what, Snoop did some awesome throws. He threw with conviction. He threw it with power, with velocity, very hard throws. And Tyreek had a resurgence yesterday. So that was huge for the Dolphins indeed.
Oh, it really was. It totally was. And I know oftentimes I cover so many aspects of it, and Matt and Shari, have different things that they want to talk about, and I end up taking what they ended up wanting to say. So I'll talk offense. I'll give them a chance to go through it, but I really saw some highlights, and I'll be typical Steve here, and I'll bring in some lowlights from what I saw from the game as well once we get everybody else a chance.
Absolutely. Let's do that without further ado. Let's welcome the P-State guru of Shari Hallett and Mr. Perfect, Matt Armstrong.
Hello.
Me. I'm the GM now for Matt Armstrong. Matt, you being the GM, I'm going to start with you, Matt. Matt, yesterday was like I said, the kind of game that Dolphins usually play to the level of competition. But the Dolphins found a way to play with conviction. The defense certainly came up and Stu Huntley did what he needed to do. The Dolphins found a way to win. I don't know your thoughts about the game yesterday against the Browns.
I think that my first thought was, oh, great, Tua's not playing. There's always the risk of you get in late in the season. We're perpetually in the hunt mode. It seems like, and you get these moments where that's a win. Oh, wait, now Tua's not playing for whatever the reason is. I'm not privy to that, but they're very much all right. And then you start off, you're playing ping pong back and forth, trading punts. You get a field goal, they score, and that right in the back of your brain, it starts to kind of nibble at you, like, not this, not like this, not like this. Um, the Browns are not a good team. For whatever reason, I'm not privy to those reasons. I don't watch them, but it was obvious they were outclassed. And for me, it was very much a don't play down to this team. Your playoff life depends on you getting out of here with a W. Um, I loved the way the defense played. Not prepared to put them in the Hall of Fame for helping beat the Browns, but this is one of those deals where if we didn't have the Miami Dolphins history that we're all very, very attuned to, and you didn't watch the game and you saw that it was 20-3, you'd be like, yeah, that looks like sounds like it was probably a really good game. Um, Snoop Huntley that's not the same Snoop Huntley that played back in the beginning of the season. And I am certain it's because they plucked him off of a practice squad, plugged him in and said, let's go, and hoped, beyond hope, that athleticism would be the key to him, being force fed the offense. I think I joked, I know I have with my son, that and I think I joked with you guys that I was going to go out there and say Super Bowl, um, and tonight I was even joking with my son that if Tua doesn't come back, we're going to the Super Bowl. Everybody, calm down. I'm not maybe
Jumping
not
ship.
100% serious about that.
Okay.
You gotta get quoted there. Man, I'm so saying it's too much.
But yeah,
So we mentioned Dolphins, Snoop starting quarterback.
but it was probably mid fourth quarter that I took a deep breath and thought, all right, I'm going to go start dinner now because I think I can get away with just listening to the rest of this game from the living room.
Absolutely. Sherry, again, that's the kind of game the Dolphins usually play to the level of the competition, but the Dolphins find a way to win. Tua certainly getting hurt puts a lot of doubts on the team for the rest of the season. But first, I want to know your thoughts of the game yesterday against the Browns. Sorry.
Sure, that's okay. Piggybacking on what's already been said, when Huntley came in at the beginning of the year and he was thrown into this offense relies on timing. This offense relies on people being at a spot at a time. And when you have somebody coming in brand new and they haven't had that time to practice with these guys to really get first team reps for a long time because he's thrown into the mix, I think that puts anybody at a disadvantage when your offense relies on that. We aren't a ground and pound kind of a team where we're when we're doing it right, we're a finesse team and you can't just jump into that. So I forgive Huntley for the beginning of the year. I think that our offense finally did what we've been asking it to do, which was keep our defense off the field for so long. A defense has a lot better chance of being successful when they aren't constantly thrown out there with quick turn time. We were having sustained drives enough to keep them from having to jump up and get back in, jump up. Huntley didn't throw any interceptions, so there was a lot of downtime for the defense, which really helps. And that made them look fresh when they went out there, and they were everywhere. Anthony Weaver, I can't, again, I'm not, like Matt said, I'm not putting them in the Hall of Fame right now, but that was a defense that I could enjoy watching week in and week out. So we need our offense to mesh with our defense so they have a chance to look that good and they aren't exhausted and gasping for breath by halftime because they've spent more time on the field than on the bench. The Calais Campbell angle, I can't tell you how much I hope we win and Denver loses this coming weekend, and not just for the obvious that we are Dolphins fanatics, but I want Campbell to make that run with us. I want him to make that run on a team that he's been with all year. So if we find that 1 in a billion chance, he's a contributor and not a somebody who's jumped in at the end just to have a ring. I want him to earn it, and if we make it, he's earned it. So I was impressed. I was happy. It wasn't a blowout. I get that they're a bad team. But as has been said by others in our panel, we have a tendency to play down to those teams, and at least we did not do that, in my opinion, yesterday. So Victory Monday here as well, and I'm looking forward to an exciting week of hope, which if we lost or Denver or Indy would have won this past weekend, we wouldn't have. So I'll take it. This is like a playoff game for us, no matter what, because Denver's playing at the same time. So we won't know until later in the day anyway. So this is a playoff game. It starts now. If we win and Denver loses, we all know where we're going and we all know what that means. So we can dissect that later. But I'm excited. I'm excited for another week where it means something, and that's a good thing for all of us.
Yeah, no, I mean, Shari hit phenomenal points there. I'll give the team a pass this week for not running the ball because, frankly, they just couldn't. But Huntley stepped up. One of Shari's points of extending the drives offensively, we have to give credit to Snoop Huntley for that because when we needed him to, he was breaking tackles, going for first downs, that run, the score on the touchdown. You showed it in the highlight clip there, Sammy, where he was able to break free. And then at the end, he did that extremely uncomfortable pirouette before he ended up going down to the turf. Shari and I joked during the game that it looked like he's the Tin Man. It's like a Dan Marino out there trying to run the football. Although I think in one game he surpassed Dan Marino's entire career of rushing yards, but he was phenomenal. Tyreek Hill showed up as if almost as if they're feeding him the ball purposefully. I looked into the contract for him before the show here just to see if there's anything in there to say if he hits 1,000 yards, he hits something. I don't think there's any type of performance incentive, but God, it seemed like they were really trying to do that. I'm not going to fault them. Whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. People step in. I did find it odd that he was returning punts.
That was terrible.
Jonnu Smith continues to be an amazing gift to this team. It is so refreshing to see. I don't care if you're a wide receiver, tight end, running back. If you are able to contribute in the way that he does and reliably catch the ball and get those yards after catch and keep on driving and grinding, he has been a huge light on this season for us. Jordan Brooks, Calais Campbell, Jonnu Smith, phenomenal pieces on this team that we did not have last year. The sour stuff for me, the play calling again, McDaniel in a third or fourth and short, I don't even know what it was, pitches it back in a trick play that doesn't fool anybody. I think the only person surprised out there is McDaniel that it didn't work, and I don't know why it's not working. Javon Holland, again, I don't know. It doesn't seem like anything is wrong with him other than the fact that he's just forgotten how to tackle and be in position to make plays. Penalties. This was a game to have those penalties. You don't want to see it happen, but there's been a lot of lack of discipline for the team this year, a lot of penalties, being out of position, certain things like that. 11 penalties. We do that against a team that is not the Browns, and we are not talking about Victory Monday today. We're talking about how we pissed away a chance and the team is already making their vacation plans. And Calais Campbell is released and he's out there trying to sign with the Ravens. But again, like we opened the show here and everybody else has said, we're still in the hunt. We've got another game left to play. 4:25 on Sunday. It's when it starts. We're going to find out what it's like for what we do on the field in New York and what the Broncos are able to or not to do against the Chiefs.
Absolutely. Our special guest is in the lobby, so let's go quickly to some of the comments. Cosa Nostra is back with us. Hi, Cosa. Danny Johnson, our friend, the CEO of the TPP podcast. Love the show. Thanks for sharing on TPP always. Luis, fins up. Nato says fins up, okay. And Cosa Nostra. It's very telling how impactful Calais Campbell has been to our team. Absolutely.
Indeed. 100%.
Absolutely. And there you go. Let's go straight to the next segment. Next week, we're going to play the Jets for all the marbles, when you say. If the Dolphins get a win, and somehow the Broncos lose to the bench of the Chiefs, the Dolphins are their player. So let's go to the next segment. Let's talk about the Jets with our special guest, Antwan V. Staley from the New York Daily News.
I'm gonna make a brand new start of it. It's up to you, New York, New York, New York.
Well, let's welcome our official guest, Antwan V. Staley from the New York Daily News. Good evening, Antwan.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi,
Welcome to
Antoine.
Fizz TV. You
Hey,
have
what's up?
some friends here in the cast of the Fizz TV crew, so I'm gonna let Steve take over. So you know each other for a long time, so I'm gonna let Steve take over for the.
Antoine, man, let me tell you, I don't think I've even seen your face since you were still covering the Dolphins. I mean, I've seen you. I've looked in a couple times and seen you on TV or on some of the different podcasts and appearances you've made. But I got to say, first of all, it's phenomenal to see you again. You're an old friend. I really actually think I need to have just some one-off just time chatting with you and put it on here because I've got lots of questions just to talk. I mean, I've known you since 2012. I think was when I
Yeah.
first really started coming around on Twitter.
Yeah, that's my first year covering the Dolphins.
Lucky time for me. So, but I mean, and then since then, you're a journeyman.
Yes.
I mean, you've been all over the place. You had stop in Tallahassee, you stop out in where I'm born, out in Oregon, and then now you find yourself up in New York. You're well traveled. I always look forward to seeing what hat you've got on. So, this is something entirely new for us here at Fins TV. Usually, we just surround ourselves with friendlies. You're always a friendly to me, Antoine. But the Dolphins fans and people who like their time here on social media. And then when I was thinking, hey, man, it's the week of the MetLife takeover. And my first thought when we wrapped up the show last week was, Antoine, I got to reach out to him and say, hey, man, would you give us some time, spend a little bit of time in the Jet segment here? And but I really, truly appreciate you taking the time to join us, man.
Of course. I mean, it's always good to talk to you. Like I hadn't seen you in a while either, so it's always good to to connect with you and Sherry too as well. So yeah, I'm happy that you asked me to be on.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely great. So, I mean, in terms of clearly it's week 18. I'll say trying as hard as I possibly can. I'd say you're in the much more objective side of things. You do your job phenomenally. You seem extremely objective. I know where your fandom really lies. You don't let it come through at all. But as you're covering the Jets, it has to be a letdown season. And as we wrap up here, you're in a position. The Jets, and when I say you, the Jets are in a position to play spoiler here. So I want to kind of get your input quickly in terms of what you're seeing about this game for what the Jets have coming and what Miami's going to be bringing to the table.
Well, it's a very loaded question, especially coming off a 40-14 game yesterday with the Jets too in Orchard Park. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what this team looks like. I mean, you're coming off a drubbing like that. I mean, you already talk about players like Sauce Gardner, Aaron Rodgers also alluded to this, and DJ Reed, the cornerback as well. Some of the players, they feel like some of the players have checked out. And I understand it's been a long season there, but there's also some players that want to end the season on a positive note too as well. I mean, it's been a long year for the Jets. I mean, they came into the year the AFC's favorites for whatever reason. I didn't pick them to win the East, but a lot of people did. I just thought that you had a lot of questions. You had Aaron Rodgers, who almost 41 years old, coming off a major injury, an Achilles injury. There, you didn't know exactly how he was going to bounce back from that. You also had coaching issues as well. Robert Saleh was coming in a bit on the hot seat there, needed to get off to a good start. Obviously, that didn't happen because 5 games in, he ended up getting fired after losing to the Vikings in London. And, really since then, the season has been on a big-time downhill just trajectory. They've only won 2 games since Robert Saleh was fired. So, I'm it's going to be hard to see this team really get up. We asked them today, some of the players today, would they take pleasure in spoiling the Dolphin season? It didn't really seem like they really, took that bait at all. So I think a lot of players are just tired. It's just been that type of a year. I think in most cases they would say, yeah, we're up to it. We want to spoil this Dolphin season. I remember a couple of years ago, it was the same situation, except the game was in Miami instead of being in MetLife, where the Dolphins had a chance to make the playoffs, and of course they beat the Jets. I think the score was like 11-6, some kind of baseball score or whatever. But this year, you just kind of feels like the Jets have just been beaten down so much that even just playing a division rival in Week 18 doesn't really do it for them at this point. And I definitely understand that from some of the players' perspective.
Yeah, so as you're talking here, I just see a lot of confusion going over Matt Armstrong's face here because he doesn't even believe that there is a team in the NFL called the New York Jets, and I've just let him kind of exist in that. But so it's one of the things that we're fans, but here within our group, we bring a lot of reality to it. We start at least with a lot of, at least I do, and throwing out the punches from what I saw, because if it's a bad game, I'd like to call it like it is, and I don't want to say, hey, it's all rosy and everything, and then Matt talks me back off the ledge, and by the end of the show I'm all excited about it. But I different times in the season, Miami and New York kind of seemed like they were on a similar trajectory, because we lost Tua. We lost the games when he wasn't there. He came back. We lost a couple more games that, frankly, we shouldn't have lost. Went up to Orchard Park and really came down to a 61-yard field goal at the very end of the game there. But, and I want to get to, the rest of the crew here. But, Antwan, as you were saying there, you kind of hinted at it, but in terms of the current state of the Jets, we're already seeing they're talking about different GMs and bringing in people whenever they're, actually allowed to legally do it, within that tampering period. But what is the current state of the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, for that matter? What do you think is going to happen here as the final whistle on Sunday evening? What's going to happen there? What's the statement?
Well, the state is, it's a lot of uncertainty. That's basically what it is. They need a new general manager. Obviously, they need a coach there. They're probably going to need a new quarterback, because I'm guessing Aaron Rodgers will not come back. I don't think it's 100% on that, but if I had to, put a percentage on it, I probably would say 15%. Just simply because, you just want to leave it open there. But, he hasn't been happy all year. I think he's very frustrated there with just kind of the things that's been happening, the dysfunction that's going on within the organization. I don't want to put all of that on him, although I think he is responsible for some of that too, because it's a lot that comes with Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about a guy that has a Netflix series, does Pat McAfee every single week there. He has a ton of baggage. And when he goes on Pat McAfee, he might be joking about it. What's your VAT status or whatever the case may be. We're past 2020 was almost 5 years ago now. So, it's just some of the things in the record is just kind of ridiculous though. And I don't know if a new general manager or coach wants to come in and deal with that, especially considering he's not the same player that he used to be. I think that's just painfully obvious to everybody if you ever watched any kind of football, whether you saw him earlier in his career and just, break it down now. And also, he'll almost be 42 years old next year. So, you have to take that into account too. And players his age don't get better. They usually get worse. And then I think we're already seeing him, decline now. So another year of another decline by Aaron Rodgers, what is that going to look like? And, so I think that this is an opportunity for the Jets to turn the page there, start over again. I know Jets fans don't want to necessarily hear it, but you already got the Patriots. I think they're already starting the process of rebuilding there. And they're going to have a ton of money to spend, $131 million in particular to spend this offseason to try to get themselves back into the race there. And I think, if the Patriots do things the right way, I like Drake May. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. They have an opportunity. I'm not saying they're going to, but they have an opportunity to eventually challenge the Bills for the division there. They're not yet, obviously. They still have some hurdles to go. Obviously, you'll get past the Dolphins too as well in that division. But, I think they're trying to set up things where if you find a quarterback, and then maybe we'll see about Mayo and his status as a coach there. If you can find a quarterback and a coach long term, you have an opportunity to have success in this league. And, you look at a team like the Chargers where you have a guy like a Jim Harbaugh that's a program builder. And look how well he's turned that around. Dan Campbell, another example there. I covered Dan Campbell when he was with the Dolphins. When he was the interim coach. So his success, doesn't necessarily surprise me at all.
So you don't have to say it. I'm going to broach the subject. You said Aaron Rodgers, like 15% to come back. You asked, what does another year with him look like? Well, it looks like the end of another coach's career in New York, in my opinion, because I don't think that the coach was necessarily the main problem up there, especially because there was no change after he was gone. There was no drastic improvement. There was no, well, now Aaron Rodgers is free to be Aaron Rodgers, and there was none of that. So knowing that there's a very good chance he doesn't come back, and now they're looking at draft order. I don't believe in tanking. Your opinion, not just your opinion. I'm not asking you what anybody said because no one's going to say they're tanking. But in your opinion, do they find it? And since maybe you've answered this already by saying that they really don't care, that it's not a spoiler for them against the Dolphins. I started my podcast career on this podcast at the beginning saying I don't think the Jets are going to take the division. I think they're going to be playing spoiler for the Dolphins at the end of the year, and that is where we are. Do you think that they'd prefer to lose?
No, I mean the players probably not. I mean I just think they're very. I'm trying to think of the right word for it. I mean they're numb to everything that's kind of going on. To the fact then the lack of a better word term for it. But yeah, I don't think they. I think they would like to win. I mean, I think they've been trying to. I mean, they were talking about a team that only has 2 wins since Halloween. I mean, that's difficult. That is tough. Like they beat Houston, and then they ended up beating Jacksonville the week after they played Miami, which it was a tough game there. They probably felt like they should have won that game. That game, I felt like that game probably could have went either way because that was one of the best games the Jets have played, at least from an offensive perspective, all year long. But I don't think they necessarily want to lose, but I just don't. I think they just don't care. Like I don't want to say. I hate saying it that way, but I think that's kind of the reality. I think you're at the point of a long season there. You already got 12 losses. You're 4-12. I mean, this win is not going
You
to
just
do
want to be
anything.
done.
Exactly. Like everybody's just ready for the season to be done. Players probably ready to go on vacation there, ready to just relax. And it's kind of some of the players, especially considering the locker room, there's a lot of players on 1-year deals. So a lot of them are probably thinking about their future and what that's going to look like there. And they probably realize with a new regime coming in, more often than not, it's probably not going to include them with the Jets.
And do you think Aaron Rodgers will take his vacation early, or do you think he'll play most of that game?
Oh, I think he's going to play. I think he's going to play for a couple of reasons. I think one, his uncertainty too, because I mean, he's talked about how he might not even want to play anymore, and then that begs a different question. It does. I think somebody texted me this today, and it kind of brought up a light bulb in my mind. It was like, has this season, has he lost his love for football this season? Just because like it's been such a difficult season, and then you can see it every single loss, like it's just been draining. It's not just for him, but some of the teammates there. I think he's going to play for that, and then also the 500, career touchdowns. I mean, you get into an illustrious category as some of the best quarterbacks of all time. When you hit that mark there, and I feel like he's been trying to, force balls into coverage because of that. Whether you talk about some of the interceptions that he threw in the Bills game there. So I think he's going to try to go for it there. I think he's looking for individual achievements there. He wants to have that be in second. Him and Devontae be in second place all the time as far as duos with career touchdowns. I think that's important to him because him and Devontae just have this special chemistry and relationship. And they are one of the best, wide receiver quarterback duos of all time. So I think he's going to play the whole game because his goal, and he's continued to say this, he wants to play all 17 games.
Well, I'm going to pass this to Matt in just 1 second because I just want to end my part of talking to you, and I love talking to you with. I would love to play poker against Aaron Rodgers because he has the worst poker face. He cannot hide a single emotion on that face, and you can tell every agonizing second that he experiences because it is front and center. So I'd like to play poker against him one day.
Yeah, I'm like that too. That's why I don't play poker.
Matt, would you like to talk to Antwan? Because, he covers this place that you say does not exist. So maybe he can give you some validation or help you understand.
Yeah, first things first, it's an incredible honor for me. And I'm very thankful that Steve and Sammy facilitated this. Thank you so much for joining us. I know I'm guilty over the years of having something negative to say about members of the media or not liking them because they don't, say what I want them to say. And you've always been, from what I can see, a straight shooter. And I just want to tell you, how often do you get to talk to a member of the media? So I'm going to tell you, thank you for always being that guy. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Secondly, I've known Steve and Shari basically since about 2012. And true story, fun fact, when I first met Steve in person, shook his hand, met Shari. It's nice to meet you guys. And the next words out of Steve's mouth were, "Hey, I know Antwan Staley." And I was like, what? He's walking around caping that he. So you're the man, basically.
We have
Well, do you know
credibility
the story?
because no.
Do you know the story? I'm sure you know the story that they about how.
I know that. I know of you through Steve, and that's it.
I didn't name drop like that. He's just trying to butter up to you because you spoke highly of Drake May, and everybody who watches this show knows that it's UNC. You know.
Well, I am from North Carolina, but thank you first of all.
Here we go. Are you really?
Here we go.
Yeah, born and raised in North Carolina. Yeah.
Where?
I grew up in Winston-Salem.
That's my hometown.
Seriously?
That is my hometown.
Steve, you just lost that one.
Small town, right?
That is my hometown. Parkland Senior High, Mustangs, go Mustangs.
I went to North Forsyth and I went to Carver. I graduated from Carver.
Okay. What a small world. Sorry, Steve. Anyways, there's a running thing that I've done for the last couple of years. I refuse to acknowledge that club, that team. But I will tell you that right now, because I am superstitious, I'm going to acknowledge them. I don't need to throw any fuel on the fire, because it would be my luck that we have to win. The Dolphins have to win on Sunday. And it would be absolutely heartbreaking if the New York Football Jets won on Sunday and knocked them out of the playoffs. So for this week alone, I'm going to acknowledge that they exist. I do have a general question for you as it pertains to the spotlight in New York. Over the years, you hear it that, playing in New York, it's a different thing. If you win in New York, you are on top of the world. Antwan, in your time there, do you see that spotlight? Do you agree with that? Do you feel like it's legitimate? Is the pressure real like that?
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, if you win, and look at a team like the Yankees were in the World Series earlier this year, and when it's going like that, and it's so great. Like, I hate the Yankees, by the way, but when it's going like that, but still, but when it's going like that, the city gets excited. People even just non-baseball fans start to take notice. So I definitely think that it is some truth to that, because it's such a huge spotlight here. And then, you have over 21 million people here. So, so you're going to have a lot of eyes and ears. So that it comes with that. But on the flip side, and this is where the Jets come in, when you don't win and you have those high expectations and you don't fulfill those high expectations for 2 years consecutively, then it goes the other way too. You get a lot of negative backlash. You may have some leaks in the media. You may have a lot of different things that go on within the organization. And not for nothing, the Jets are already a dysfunctional organization. As I don't need to say it. I mean, but it's out there. For anybody to read, it's out there. Whether I've written it or anybody else has written it. So when you factor all that in, then it's both. It hits both sides of it. So you're definitely gonna, when you don't win, then people are gonna just drag you in the mud, and that's exactly what they've done with the Jets this year, and deservedly so. I mean, Woody Johnson, when he fired Robert Saleh, said he believed that's the best team collection of talent he's ever accumulated. Since that point, they've won 2 games. So, a lot of it is on him. I think a lot of, the past 14 years of why they haven't been successful is on him. And it starts at the top and then it trickles down. So until
we've had that discussion so many times here.
Yeah, I know about Steven.
Don't get Steve started.
I know about Steven Ross too. I think he's a different type of owner. I don't think he's nearly as meddling as Woody Johnson is. I think the Dolphins have a different type of issue there, where you got Chris Greer there, who
GM.
yeah,
GM.
where I think that he joked about how people were the media was more concerned about the offensive line.
Uh-oh.
See, and the offensive line took Antwan
The
out
reason you don't
also.
play your starting quarterback.
There it is.
Okay,
We
there
lost
we
you
go.
for a second there
Yeah.
with
Okay,
the
there we
offensive
go.
line.
Okay, yeah. So I was saying Chris Greer didn't take, fortifying the offensive line seriously to the point where, he's joking about it in the press conferences. And meanwhile, you got, one of the reasons you didn't start Tua on Sunday was because of your offensive line. So the offensive line has been an issue since I was covering the team. So, and it continues to be one. And he's part of the problem too. So, but I think the Dolphins have a little bit different issues than the Jets. But I don't know. I don't get necessarily ownership, because I think it's more of a GM issue there.
I was
This
thinking
is
GM. I just meant from the top down. Yeah.
yeah. Just my perspective.
Yep.
I have two more questions, if you don't mind. Number
Yeah, go ahead.
one, in my lifetime, I've seen the Giants win a few times. Obviously, you mentioned the Yankees. The Mets have had some success. The New Jersey Devils have had some success over the years. What would that fan base do if the Jets actually put something together and were successful? Like, is it something like we've never seen before?
I don't know. That's a good question. Like, just even them being competitive, I think people would just be excited. But if they were to win a championship,
Yeah.
and it might be like chaos. Like it might be like completely like people just go insane, because you literally have people that that grew up in the '60s that have been just beaten down with losing, just losing year after year after year, and it's not like the Jets have had really good seasons. I mean, recently, it's been 14 years since they made the playoffs, and even before that, like sporadically, they hadn't had success. I mean, they hadn't won an AFC East title since 2002. I think it's a stat. People often say it on Twitter. I think a lot of Dolphins fans say that. I think the Colts have more AFC East division titles than the Jets do, which is crazy, because the Colts have not won since 2002. So yeah, it's crazy, right? So I think people have just been beaten down so much. So if they were actually able to win, I don't know how the fan base would react. I don't know if they know how they would react to it.
And then that's mind blowing right there, what you just said about AFC East titles. For those of you that don't know, the Colts used to be in the AFC East. Last thing for me, awesome to talk to you, but probably the most important thing out of all this tonight is going to be light blue or dark blue.
I went to ECU, by the way. So,
Really?
so yeah, but my family, a lot of my family went to Duke. I actually got into UNC, but I graduated high school early. But then at the time they didn't, you had to wait till the fall to enroll. So I went to ECU instead, because I wanted to start early. So, but I've always been a Carolina person. Like I love the Tar Heels. I love Michael Jordan. I love college basketball. That's obviously, if you grow up in North Carolina, it kind of comes with the territory there. I would kind of be standoffish to somebody if they didn't say they like college basketball to an extent there, at least a little bit there. But yeah, I'm a Tar Heel.
Steve, this guy just went to the top of the list. He's an ECU guy. He's an ECU guy. I mean, those of you who don't know,
I'm also a Gator too.
Thank you. I was going to say that.
So ECU is the greatest. It's the greatest school in America, to be honest. And Antwan knows why I say that.
Yeah, I do.
It's the greatest school in America. So, hey, man, I really appreciate you taking a minute and talk to me.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it is good to talk to another Winston-Salem native too, as well.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So Matt, not to step on your. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Because
I was going to say not to step on this newfound bromance that's going on, but it's been alluded to a couple times. And the very short version of a very long story is Antwan was kind enough to facilitate Steve and my engagement on the field in Miami. So we have one of the most amazing memories of our entire relationship is courtesy of Antwan, and we talk about you all the time, and we love you so much.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I'm honored to be a small part of that too. Like, and I'm glad I was able to make that happen. So I'm actually, I'm really blessed too that that happened for y'all, and then y'all still, keeping it strong too.
Absolutely, forever.
So,
Honey, go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off.
Sammy, I know you're trying to. We're probably trying to wrap this segment up here, but so a couple things. First of all, Antwan, it was alluded to before this when Matt was talking about like your presence in Miami and who you are and everything. One, no, I never name dropped you or something like that. That's just Matt being Matt and making up the stories.
I mean, if you did, always, that's fine too.
You've always been a straight shooter, and actually, you were the first. Like I said, I really stepped into Dolphins Twitter in 2012, and I started like getting upset at some of the media people down there following him, and you were really the first person to say, hey, look, I cover the team, I'm not a fan. And that you really triggered me with that, where I was like, hey, wait a second, you're not. And then I knew that had to be true when you went up and you covered the Seminoles. And I'm like, my man, you got your master's at UF and you're covering the Seminoles. I'm like, you've got to be the most objective person in the world. I love you for it. But
you don't know how, that took a lot of soul searching, actually.
I can't imagine.
I had to literally just think about it. Sorry to interrupt you real quick. I know you were going to ask me a question, but that took a lot of soul searching before the end.
I'm going to cut him off too, because a while back, a friend of mine invited me to go watch the Florida State game in Tallahassee in William Floyd's box. And he said, the caveat is you can't wear Gators clothes and you can't cheer for the Gators. And I said, thank you, I will pass. And I did not go because there was no way. I'd rather sit on my couch in my living room and cheer loudly than sit there.
It's better that way anyway.
Oh my gosh, pretend I'm not a fan, not happening. So go ahead, honey.
She's got her principles. But so you hinted at this, and we'll parlay this into your prediction for the game coming up this and then into the feature segment that we have for Antwan. But you said you didn't pick the Jets. Matt, I can only imagine with the amount of bluster that the national media and the ESPN and all those others put into the Jets leading up to before regular season even kicks off. I can only imagine what it would be like if they did put it together, where the talent they put together didn't equal dysfunction. Miami, we've seen a ton of free agency talent. They bring people in on 1-year contracts and it totally fails. So I think it very rarely pans out in the NFL. I think maybe the LA Rams were one of the few teams to really do that.
Yeah.
But who did you pick to win the AFC East this year?
The Bills. Like I stayed consistent there. Like I struggle. I really wanted to take the Dolphins, but I was like, can I count on Tua being healthy 2 years in a row? I was like, I don't know. I was like, so I took the best quarterback, and I took Sean McDermott, which has done a masterful job. I mean, he's only missed the playoff once, and that was Josh Allen's rookie year. So he's done a tremendous job in Buffalo.
I mean, they lost their wide receiver room, and they had their all-pro linebacker out, and they didn't miss a beat, and they've actually picked it up and done better this year. So
it's crazy, right?
It makes me absolutely sick to say that, being from that area and dealing with that crowd for my whole life. But so in any case, Antwan, this week, man, Sunday, final whistle. What do we got, man?
I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I'm not, I know it's going to be cold. It's supposed to be like 30 degrees, but I have to think the Dolphins are the better team, and they're going to be motivated to want to win that game. I can't say that about the Jets. I don't know what Jets team is showing up, to be honest with you. So I think the Dolphins are going to be motivated there. I think they win and take care of business. And I don't know if they make the playoffs because I think, it seems like the Chiefs they're talking about bringing in third string players. So I think, it seemed like the Dolphins are probably going to be sitting at home, unfortunately, for the playoffs. And they only have themselves to blame for that. Like, they have some games that, the game, you beat Arizona, then you're not in this position. Right, sir? Oh, yeah. You only need is one of those wins. Yeah. You just need one of those wins, and then you're not in this situation. So they only have themselves to blame for this. But I think the Dolphins win on Sunday. And then it's going to be basically like a home game. Like, I don't expect there to be a lot of Jets fans there. I think it's going to be more Dolphin fans.
I'm hopeful that Kansas City wants to knock a division rival out so they don't have to face them in the playoffs. That they don't want Denver to be there. So that's my hope, is that the third string plays strongly enough to want to knock Denver out of the running. That's my hope.
I mean, you never know. Stranger things have happened, especially in this business. So, yeah, you never know.
The Giants found a way to trounce the Colts.
Say this weekend.
Yeah, that was shocking. I was completely shocked. Not just the Giants win, because a lot of people were surprised by that. But I look at the flip side. If you're the Colts, how did you lose that game? Especially when your life is like your playoff life is on the line like that. Especially to give up 45 to the Giants, like that is absurd.
Yes.
Yep. 100%.
Perfect word. Absurd.
So I'll cut it at that. I'm picking the Dolphins to win and see where the cards lie up in the Chiefs-Broncos game. Matt, what do you think, man?
I'm a little superstitious, you know. I hope it's a good game. I hope both teams have fun. Antoine, usually right about now, I'll throw something ridiculous out like 33-12. It doesn't matter which game it is. I'll just be out on a limb there. What the hell? 38-6.
Oh,
Dolphins.
wow. Oh, God.
I like it. I'm going Dolphins. I'm going Dolphins, and if the Aaron Rodgers and the just deflated team. Oh, wait, that's New England. So if the defeated team up in New York makes this game, the Dolphins by a mile. So I'm going to take the Dolphins in a hopefully strong showing. It doesn't look like Tua is going to be there playing. So I want to see some more of the Huntley we saw yesterday because I was very excited to watch that.
I'll say this real quick too. Like if he doesn't play, even if he does play, I think they're gonna have to run the ball a lot because the win in that stadium, any time of the year is insane. But now in January and it's gonna be blistery cold. No matter who's the quarterback, they're gonna have to commit to run the ball because in that situation.
Sure,
so that
definitely.
I think they win, but I think it might be like 28-18 or something like that because I think it's gonna be a bit of a slugfest at least early on.
No, I think that it's Dolphins are definitely going to win. I think we're going to see a repeat of what our offensive line did against Cleveland, which was really, really nothing special. It was actually pretty ugly. And I think with those weather conditions, like you were saying, the wind and everything, probably see Jason Sanders, who's been all-pro level this year, possibly feel the pain from that wind. But I actually think it's going to be low scoring. I love your optimism, Matt. You're my optimism anchor, but I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Maybe one touchdown for the entire game, and the rest is going to be field goals. But the Dolphins going to win.
Antoine, last year I predicted the Dolphins would score 10 touchdowns against the Broncos.
Bullshit.
And
he was kind of close.
And
Probably was.
I mean,
probably more.
So I stick to my guns on this. What the hell? Maybe lightning strikes twice.
Look, I just saw the Jets give up 3 touchdowns in 5 minutes, so anything is possible.
Fair enough. All right, Sammy, I'm going to kick it over to you, man. Antoine, if we can have you stick around for a feature segment. I know that went really long here, but I can't stop talking to you. We want to get into our feature segment, Sammy, so I'm going to hand it over to you to do the transition here, man.
Absolutely. Let's go to our Fizz TV resolutions. Well, it's the end of the year, and certainly it wasn't the season we expected. I think Jets fans and the Jets don't feel the same way. It's not the season they expected. But let's do some Fizz TV resolutions. Let's go around the horn, basically, and say what's our resolutions for the Dolphins first. And at the end, we're gonna ask Antoine to give us our resolutions for the New Year's Jets. So go take it away, Steve.
So really, I'm going to keep it pretty simple, and I don't want to go off of what I think the team should be doing as an organization. I'll keep it as we have it right now. 2 of them. First of all, if I'm Greer as the general manager and I'm Mike McDaniel, first and foremost, keeping things the way that they are. Weaver, I really hope he sticks around. I think he's probably earned himself serious consideration, so there's no guarantee he's going to be here. Special teams, I'm not going to keep that the way it is. Crossman, you've got to get the hell out of town, and hopefully it happens really quickly. But, Greer, Antoine touched on it earlier, man. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this show that the offensive line, the fans were well within their right to be as concerned as they have been for the past 2 decades, but the past 2 years, when he's derided us to the public in his one presser per year of, you're more worried about this than we are. Well, we've got a good reason to be worried about it because our quarterbacks can't get anything done. The backup quarterbacks are horrible as it is in many cases. They can't function behind that much dysfunction in the offensive line, but quarterbacks need more time in the pocket in general, and they can't constantly be wondering, how quickly do I need to get this ball here? And if a defensive team is hitting us hard, hitting our wide receivers hard, then we are not going to have that timing game. And for God's sakes, we need a running game. So McDaniel as a team. So my first thing, first and foremost, is Greer, you've got to fix the offensive line. Second thing is McDaniel. 3 years. This is your third year, wrapping it up here. For God's sakes, man, you've got to give up the play calling duties and you've got to lose your red challenge flag. 20%. 20% this year with his challenge flag, and he's batting .222 in his career over the last 3 years as a head coach with that challenge flag. Lose it, don't touch it, and you've got to pass off the calling the plays. You've got to get somebody else who can give the offensive unit more than 8 seconds on average at the line of scrimmage after they break the huddle. Is it possibly them not hearing the plays well enough? Whatever it is, there's no excuse at that level. So you've got to put the dysfunction out of this team. And if we're keeping things the way that they are, then Greer has to change the way that he has viewed the offensive line, and McDaniel has to give up play calling and lose that damn challenge flag.
So you have 2 resolutions then.
I have, well, it deals with the Dolphins. Go ahead, Sherry. What do you got? You got one?
Well, I had one. That was the line. So I'm going to go with another one. And I'm going to go with strength and conditioning because injuries seem to be just following us everywhere. I feel like we've been discussed as being soft. Maybe the practices aren't what they need to be. Maybe the time that they're spending during the week can be better spent with some actual time out there that's tough, that isn't always singing and dancing and fun, which I want them to have fun. It's a game. At the end of the long story of a long season, they're playing a game, they're passing a ball, they're catching a ball. It's not that serious. As my kids would say, it's not that deep. But something is happening or isn't happening when we are conditioning in the off season, during the season. We aren't resolute in an discipline when that's the penalties. We aren't resolute in knowing where we're supposed to be and when we're supposed to be there. So I'm going with discipline and more conditioning in practices and when you're not in a game, things that are going to carry over when you are on the field. So that's my resolution.
I'll say this to your point real quick, Sherry. Like being, a physical team, I think it's a mindset with the coach. Like that's where it stems from. It's not, although the strength and conditioning management with the Dolphins has been a question since I've been covering the team. But I think it's a mindset of the coach. Like they're supposed to inject that within the organ. Like when you bring in, you're supposed to bring in culture builders, and they're supposed to bring in that toughness and physicality. And they hadn't done it. Like I can tell you I guess Flores tried to do it, but he wasn't able to. But the rest of the coaches, I feel like they've been really finesse when you talk about, obviously, not to, go through the, list of failed Dolphins coaches or whatever, but I think a lot of them, they came in, very finesse coaches. And I think that's
there has
the
to be
problem.
a happy medium, too, between the Flores beatdown and the party atmosphere
Correct.
with McDaniel. There's something in the middle that we haven't found. And I hope McDaniel can come to the middle, like Steve said. I hope, because I do like him and I do see the positives that he brings to this team. So I hope he is teachable and he is moldable as well so that he can come more to the middle. Matt, what's your resolution?
Mine's real simple. I resolve to take my 65-inch Vizio television down to Miami Gardens, and actually I'll transport it wherever the schedule takes the Dolphins, and we'll use that to monitor close plays and determine whether or not the challenge flag needs to be thrown. Because if I can see that you don't need to throw the challenge flag, I could, hey, no, don't throw it. Or yes. Steve, did you say 22% of the time he's been right?
In his 3 years. I didn't even think he'd be that good.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because last night I said to my son, I don't know that he's ever been right on
one time this year. Once. 1 out of 5.
So,
But shouldn't there be somebody in his ears? Isn't there somebody who's in
Yes.
charge of looking at that, who's
Correct.
saying yes
It
or
is.
no?
well, that's my
Yes.
resolution. In 2025,
You're
I'll
gonna
Matt
be
do
is
that
going to be
person.
that person in the ear.
I'm 100% on whether or not you should throw that flag or not, sitting right there on my couch. Every single time I've been right. That's got to be worth something. Like, I'll quit my job. I'll go do that. Referees are part-time NFL employees. I can do that on a part-time basis. I have no problem with that. So that's my resolution for 2025.
For,
And if
for,
we
the
can't
record,
get
for, the,
you,
for the record, when you're not that low, you're better off not throwing it anyway because you've
well,
just
the
better
odds
off just throw it.
somebody's telling him, somebody's talking in his ear. But if
Correct.
we can't get you, Matt, we should get Gene Steratore because he's right all the time. So we should get him to tell us when to throw the flag.
I've been at a game that Gene Steratore called a fumble, not a fumble, and it happened right in front of me. It was against the Steelers. Roethlisberger fumbled it, and Steratore got on, no, that wasn't a fumble. And to this day, I don't know how that guy ever was a referee.
I think I was at that game.
Well,
Let it go, man. I'll never let it go.
well, it's he made one mistake. I mean, you could excuse that. Just one mistake.
Well, what you don't understand is now he says, "Look at me, I'm the GM." It usually says Mr. Perfect
Matt,
or something
yes.
like that. So
also Thor, which is why it says God of Thunder. We've established that he's Thor as well.
For the record, I never called myself Mr. Perfect. That's Sammy right there.
Fair enough.
that's
Well,
who
you don't object to it.
I never called myself Thor. Steve Hallett told me that in the Marvel universe, I would be Thor. Correct?
And we
You're
agreed.
one of the couple options. Yes.
Okay.
You're pure of heart.
And last,
Either Thor or Happy, right?
Yes.
nice, Sammy. And last but not least, I just watched Captain Phillips the other day, and look at me. I'm the captain. I'm captain now. And I thought I'd have some fun with it after last week's episode where nobody wanted to agree with me about my thoughts on Chris Greer. So look at me. I'm the GM now.
I like it. Antwan. All right, man. All right. You are covering the New York Jets, man. Give me a New Year's resolution for that team. What you got, man?
They need just a winter cleaning. And I mean, just, get rid of, any bad apple seed, anything like that. I think it's just time to, part ways with some of, the things that's killing the organization. There's been a lot of dysfunction in there. Anything that has anything to do with that, they need to get out the building, period. Because you can't win that way. I mean, that's why you've gone 14 straight years without making the playoffs. That's why, I mean, you hadn't won a division title since 2002. I mean, that's why you're going through these cycle of coaches, whether it be Todd Bowles or Adam Gase, which never made sense to me, especially after the Dolphins fired him. But that's whole other conversation. Or Robert Saleh as well. So you need to inject people in there that know football, and then just get out the way. And then everybody else that doesn't, or is not providing any kind of value to them, then they need to get out. That's basically what I would say. So that's pretty self-explanatory, especially considering everything that's going on with the Jets this year.
I like it. So, Sammy, I wanted your resolution, then I've got one final closing question for Antwan that's kind of a big one here. So go ahead.
Well, my resolution is pretty easy. If the Dolphins don't find a way to next year work on the lines and the trenches, they're not going anywhere. The Dolphins had a better defensive line and a better offensive line probably, and a backup quarterback. They're probably a much better team. So I don't think anyone's going home. I've been on record saying I don't think Chris Greer is getting fired. We might do the trial of Chris Greer. Maybe in the next week we'll talk about that, Steve. But I don't expect anyone to go home. But if the Dolphins don't find a way to wear the trenches, they're not going to. What my saying is that definition of craziness, to keep doing the same thing every single season. If you don't find a way to do that, there's nothing going to change. What about you, Steve?
100%. No, it's you hit the nail on the head there. Definition of insanity, and we see it every year as we get into the late into the second half, say the fourth quarter of the season, that it's the tough teams, those that are built to grind and are able to grind it out and do it consistently. They're able to do it. Miami is just, I said it many, many times earlier this year in the show, They're a finesse team. They were built to be finesse in a league that is not. It doesn't reward finesse teams. But Antwan, it has been absolutely incredible. But I've got one question for you. So flashback to November 2nd, 2014, when you get us onto the field there. We had just crushed the Chargers.
That's right.
37-0. It was Finn's. It was like a podcast weekend, a web weekend.
Yes.
I didn't even know that a lot of the people that we've come across were at the game. Phenomenal. You know, it was huge for Shari and I and everything. But I come to you and I give you just thank you so much. And you said one thing to me and it stuck with me. And I'm really curious. You said, if I'd known what you were going to do, I really would have gone all out for you. What more could you have done for me and my fiance at the time that was just, to me, that's my Mecca. I grew up in Buffalo area, and to go there, it's just like, that was like a dream come true for, you know, a middle-aged person here. But what more could you have done for me, man?
Basically, set it up, like maybe have a cake for y'all and like some balloons, like, you know, just have a good ambiance, you know, for a moment like that. Because I mean, that's a big thing. That's something that you'll always remember for the rest of your lives. You know, so yeah, you know, I wanted to try to make it special as much as possible. Like it happened kind of last minute, but you know, I'm glad it was still able to work. But that's what I meant. Like I wanted to, you know, make sure that y'all had a moment that you will always remember.
We got engaged on the sidelines of a Dolphins game, and he said it in Mecca. It's been my place of worship. The Orange Bowl was the original place of worship, and then I switched it over to there. But that's my Mecca. Every time I just see it when we're driving down there and you just finally get the glimpse, we can't ask for more than that. You made it happen. It's the best story. We love it. And it's
I tell that story
something
too.
we share.
I tell that story quite often too. So yeah, it's something that I'm proud of. Like, you know, it's just something like, I'm happy that it happened.
It was awesome. Well. And you got us in touch with Claudia, who was able to get us to do that. But we showed up, and had there been a cake and balloons and everything, then it would have just kind of blown the cover. To Shari, it was birthday weekend. She thought, oh my God, we're getting on the field there. There's so much more to this whole story of like, she wanted to tailgate, and I'm walking around Publix like, we don't have time. And she's like, why don't we have time? She didn't even know we had passes to get onto the field. She had a little gift bag. We got a bunch of
Claudia did,
Antwan, so I'll close this out, man. It has been incredible to see you again. It's been way too long. As much as I want to get the hell away from, you know, social media, you're one of the bright spots on there. You always have been. And I appreciate you. Dolphins fans everywhere, they appreciate you. You know, you don't know what you got until it's gone. There's always a place in Miami for you. You said one time maybe that ship has sailed, but you'll always have a place in our hearts. We appreciate you, Antwan.
I always love Dolphin fans. I love Dolphin fans. Like, I mean, they're like, family to me. So we still talk. Like, I'm still talking like on Twitter and stuff. Like, I still have connections then with the Dolphins within the organization. So, you know, obviously I keep an eye on them, even though I'm covering the Jets too as well. Some Jet fans get upset with me about that, but that's all right. You know, they have to live with that.
Take the good with the bad, man. We'll take that good side of you, man.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks a lot,
Love
Antwan.
you, Antwan. Happy New Year.
Antwan, we appreciate you. Hopefully you want to join us back. Hopefully you had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Matt can speak. I can speak for it too. Cherry and Steve are one of my favorite people in the whole world. So you brought them together. You put a bow on the gifts for that. So we appreciate you. Hopefully you want to join us again. Hopefully you had a great time.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, bite me on again. I definitely would love to do it again. You know, I can stay as long as y'all need me, especially for y'all. For some people, maybe not, but for y'all.
Thank you.
Have a safe, happy New Year.
Happy New Year to y'all too, and everybody. All right, y'all take it easy.
You too.
Thank you,
Be safe.
So next we're gonna. It's Don Shula's 95th birthday this Saturday. So we're gonna honor a little bit the greatest coach of all time. Let me give a second here. There you go.
And now the end is near. And now the end is near. And so I I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway. More, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. To think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got, if not himself? Then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. Yes, it was my way.
For what is a man, what has he got is not himself, and he has not. Don Shula, at the end of his career, did not have, what he wanted, a final Super Bowl victory. But as a man, as a coach, as a leader, he's more than he had himself, and that's more than so most Dolphins fans would ever wish or dream of. If you ask me the great, I'm pretty sure you will agree, the greatest coach of all time. Hopefully now his record will live forever. I'm going to go first to Steve. Steve, I jokingly say that Don Shula is our patron saint of Fitz TV because I like to include it. I love Coach Shula, the job, the presence, the leadership. But I want to know your thoughts or memories of Coach Shula.
Well, just real quick, I said I had something for this segment. I want to say one thing first, that Antwan, our previous guest, said it best. The head coach is responsible for setting the tone and the culture within an organization. Nobody, no head coach has ever done that as well, as long as consistently and successfully as Don Shula did.
Absolutely.
And that's the bottom line. He was that person. He was that tone setter. He is the reason why we have the legacy of the Miami Dolphins. My second thing is I'm conceding all of my talking time here to my wife, Shari, because Don Shula is her person. Assuming that she's well enough to do this right now and she's not going to end up looking like a raccoon, I'm going to concede this to Shari. So have at it. Have at it, babe.
I've always considered him a part of my family. He doesn't know me from Adam. But I grew up in Miami. My uncle got me involved when I was 2. And my uncle and Don Shula just seemed to have so much in common that they were kind of intertwined with me when I was a kid. And I've met Coach Shula a few times, and he was always so kind and not short with anyone. He gave everybody their time and went to the opening of Shula's in Tampa, and I'm so upset that they closed. But my family and I went to the opening, and we met him, and a lot of Dolphins there. Met Jim Mandich, and I got to wear his Super Bowl rings, and that's the lock screen on my phone is Jim Mandich's Super Bowl rings, including the undefeated season. And I have Coach Shula's birthday on my calendar in the kitchen every year. It's written on there on the 4th, so it's not like I'm going to forget it. And I told my kids a long time ago that when Coach Shula passes away, it's going to be a big deal in our house. And that night at dinner, it was just he was something else. I mean, he like Steve said, like Antoine said, when you're looking for someone for culture to make a team, to give them an identity, that team was Shula's team, back to front, up and down, and they acted like it. Least penalized team in the league for his tenure there. And I can't. I know. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble because I do. I adore him, and we were lucky enough for his 90th birthday to be staying at Shula's Resort. Whenever we go down to games, we stay there because there's pictures everywhere. That it's a wonderful place. And lo and behold, we were there, and all of a sudden, around the corner come Bob Greasy and Larry Zonka walking, and then just player after player. Well, it was his 90th birthday celebration, and the team history of Dolphins were staying at the same resort we were, and we got to meet such amazing people. And just as a testament to who Coach Shula was, the amount of players from the past who were older gentlemen, I mean, just people that really, I mean, I've been a fan and I hadn't really heard because they were from so long ago. They came together to celebrate his 90th birthday, and they were thrilled to be there, and they were all wonderful, and they all treated us amazingly. And it's not the same Dolphins without Coach Shula. It will never be. We're not going to have another Shula, but I hope we can get that culture, some of that culture back. And happy birthday to Coach Shula, and just can't tell you how much I adored him and miss him around my I just got a kiss from my husband. He knows this is a tough subject for me, but I'm happy for the time that he gave to our team, and how he made us who we are. So, Matt, I'm sorry, you're gonna go now.
Matt, what are your thoughts on your fondness, your memories of Coach Don Shula?
Well, I'm not going to be able to top that.
No way.
There's no way. So I remember my family talking about Shula and Landry, and the dumbest reason in the world, and I chalk it up to being 5 years old. I thought Shula's name was cool, and I thought Dolphins were cool, and so that's how they became my favorite team. My mom loved Shula, and that probably had a factor, a part of it, and so that started this lifelong fandom of the Miami Dolphins. A couple weeks ago, I remember telling you guys here that one of the reasons that I hate social media is because it allows anybody with a voice to say what they think, right or wrong. And I was thankful. I said that I was thankful that there wasn't social media because I was one of those idiots back in the mid 90s when the Dolphins gave up 44 to the Bills. And I was one of them with the pitchfork and, because I knew everything. I'm a fan, and I've been a fan since whenever. And afterwards, the aftermath of that, and we're still living with that aftermath, is uh, we haven't had greatness on the sideline since then. Um, so there's a part of me that is, I'm not going to say I'm ashamed, but I am going to say you're an idiot, Matt, for even wanting. Like I fire him now. He needs to go. He's too old. And you can fill in the blank because people were saying it yesterday, and the Dolphins won yesterday. Um, the One of the coolest things for me personally was over the years, whenever he would get interviewed or there would be something in the newspaper, maybe something before a game or halftime, he'd have an interview. And that took me back to my childhood. It took me back to when the Dolphins were great because, the Dolphins, they have two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. But honestly, anybody will tell you the first name they think of if they've been fans or if they've been aware since the 70s, the name Shula is most likely the first one that's going to come out of their face. So when I would see him in an interview or read something in the paper, it would take me back to those times and being able to remember what it was like when my favorite football team was a contender, not a contender for the playoffs, but a contender to win the world championship. Um, and the last thing I'll say is that greatness. You can identify someone in just about every sport that filled that role. Shula, Landry, certainly, absolutely Landry, and there's some other sports out there too that you can say, yeah, they would be on the Mount Rushmore. They'd be at the top of the list because of their success and because of the class that they had when they were in that role. And I think that's one of my favorite things about Coach Shula was the Dolphins won with class. They'd whip your ass, but there was a lot of class associated with that man. The way he ran his team. I don't know if current NFL coaches pay attention to history or if they even go and look back in the Wayback Machine to see how it was back then. But it was a different world. It was a different world, and it's sorely missed. So, happy birthday, Coach Shula. You are absolutely missed.
I'm going to say something real fast before we go on because Matt, you're saying you were one of those people saying he's done, it's over. And I have up in my closet a clipping of an article, and I feel like it was Hubert Meisel who I wrote to in the Miami Herald that I was voicing my opinion everybody needed to sit their asses down, and that Shula wasn't his time, and that we needed to respect the legacy and respect the man. I have that article that I wrote that was published. It was an editorial just opinion piece.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I wrote the news, but it was published and I have it. So I'll send it to you someday because I think I was talking to you.
Yeah, and it's I'm not ashamed of it, but there's a part of me that's like, you moron, you were no different than these people that I rail against now. And you guys know I do. I can't stand it when people go off the deep end. Fanatic, the short of fanatic is fan. That's what we are. I get that. But it's part of the reason why I went off on a tangent last week about the primary topic that we had on the show last week. But we are fans, and I'll be the first. I mean, I've done it several times. I was at the front of the line because I was sick and tired of the Bills. That's really what it was. I was sick and tired of the Bills beating my beloved Dolphins, and we couldn't beat them to save our lives. You guys had 18 first-round picks on the roster at one time.
19 first round picks in 1995, I believe.
Right, and we couldn't even with that kind of talent, we couldn't. It was so frustrating. Today, I would love to punch that version of me right in the middle.
I think it's funny because we're worried sitting here talking about the Bills, but in my opinion, the closest Marino came to his ring, it was the Patriots who actually took us out of that, and it was the '85 season against the Bears. We were the only team to beat them. We had their number. We get past the Patriots. I think we beat them in the Super Bowl, and there's the ring that everybody says would just cap off a Marino career. But as much as the Bills did, I blame the Patriots for.
It's so funny you say that because that's the loss that bothers me the most in my fandom of this football team. Um, Stunned, shocked, whatever adjective you want to use. Like, how in the hell did we lose to the Patriots?
And
Like
then they got smoked.
the Patriots didn't have they weren't a team that you feared. It was the Raiders. It was even the Browns were good back then in the early 80s. The Bengals, the Chargers, teams that you would be like, yeah, I don't want to play them. The Patriots, yeah. Thanks, Sherry. Thanks for reminding me.
You're welcome.
That's the one.
Well, we're all guilty of believing the grass is always greener on the other side. We're doing it basically right now with Coach McDaniel. So he came here, changed the culture, and sometimes we're critical. Most times with reason, but still. I was on the fence on Coach Shula in 1995. He was too loyal. He was a loyal guy. Apparently, they wanted to fire Coach for defensive coordinator Tomo Liberatore. He didn't want to do that, and they gave him the one last. They built a team for a run. He was accused of trying to buy a Super Bowl just because they did what the 49ers had done the year before, trying to acquire talent. But at the end of the day, the Dolphins made the playoffs, but the last day of the season, but could not overcome that. My biggest, the worst defeat of Don Shula's career for me was the game of the Chargers. I really believe that team had probably would have got our ass kicked by the Cowboys in the playoff, the Super Bowl, but still, Coach Shula for me, no matter what, he's the greatest of all time. I wish he would have been able to lead the Dolphins on his own terms. He was loyal. He were rumbles about he joining the Browns, and he shut down those very quickly, and he retired with the Dolphins. Steve, any last thoughts on the greatest coach of all time, the Coach Don Shula?
Mute.
Thank you. Dogs barking. So I think everybody said it really, really perfectly. And I personally, I joke, but literally being the youngest of the group here, I didn't get to experience Shula in the 70s. I wasn't cognizant enough, didn't have cable TV to enjoy enough of Shula in the early 80s and everything. And I was all Buffalo Bills up there. So I took for granted what it was that we had. And I was raised early, and I was in the early part of that microwave generation of, hey, I only knew what Shula had brought to the team or what was giving to us. So I thought, hey, well, that's a dime a dozen. You're going to find that anywhere. And just look at the roster of coaches that we've had ever since. But, they talk about the greatness, and it's funny. I was in the car one day listening to Sports Talk Radio, and they were talking about how Belichick is now not going to pass Shula for the record, thank goodness. And they're like, well, hey, then Shula's record is safe. And somebody's like, well, they're really not, because Andy Reid is right there in line to be able to do it, because I think he's getting ready. I think he's a couple seasons away from being able to eclipse that over his tenure with the Eagles and now with the Chiefs. But I think that it's funny. It was really good timing for this, because I won't take credit for this. So I'm reading off of a text message that Sherry's and my friend Todd Wright sent to me earlier. He just sent some random things, and it seems extremely appropriate because we're talking about greatness of franchises, and they're talking about no team has ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row, and if the Chiefs do it this year, then it'll be fantastic. And they're already making excuses that if they don't win the Super Bowl, then it's the best dynasty ever. And so I'm going to read verbatim here. He said, in my theory, that if they lose the Super Bowl, they'll have gone 50-11, depending on how this goes overall over the past 3 years. And there's immediately people who are calling it the best 3-year run in the Super Bowl era. And he said, not so fast. The Dolphins also had 3 Super Bowl appearances and 2 titles from 1971 to 73, and they went 44-6-1, and never once they lost one single home game during that stretch. There's a lot of recency bias, and it's opportunities like this, and I don't think we'll get enough airtime. It was that special that showed the 72 Dolphins a couple of years ago that showed me what I never knew, that brings to today's youth that don't take the time to read up or look back on that stuff to understand what it really truly was to have a great coach like that. And Matt, to go back to the 1995 Matt Armstrong, who was saying fire and whatever, and I was probably doing the same exact thing as I was in basic training and in tech school, that 95 was the last time the Bills went to the playoffs for about 15 years, 20 years from that point. So who knows, if we had just held on tightly at that point, that would have been their last season, and then they went to hell, and who knows what would have happened after that if we'd held on to Shula. But so, happy birthday, Don.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh, let's roll. Let's go straight to the big finish. $800 Dolphins fans on all platforms tonight. Please follow us on X, on Instagram. It's at the bottom. The Facebook, everywhere. We want to thank Antwan Staley again for joining us on Fins TV tonight. It's been quite a ride this season. Hopefully we have a game. A show after next week, but probably we'll find a way to win, and we get some help from the Chiefs. But I'm not counting it. But they owe us. They owe us because
they do owe us.
A couple of years ago, so they owe us. So and we better do something about that. So let's go straight to the top 5 power rankings. Well, the Packers have been knocked out of the top 5 power rankings, so the Eagles are number 5, and number 4 the Lions. That huge game against number 2 Vikings this week. The Bills number 3, the Vikings at number 2. Huge Packers against the Lions this week. And number 1 the refs. Of course. Well, I saw a video a couple of weeks ago where they tell us how the many ways the Chiefs could have lost so many games this season. That would have been so nice if they had to find a way to win this Sunday. They could have helped us, but I don't think they're as unstoppable as people believe they are. Maybe I'm wrong, but pick your poison. You want the Chiefs to win another Super Bowl. You want the Bills to win a Super Bowl. So I don't know.
That's easy. I'm sorry, that is so easy for me.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
Go Lions. Go whatever. I don't care.
Well, absolutely, but you gave us a choice, Bills or Chiefs, so there's no choice there. It's Chiefs.
I don't know if you want to flash up Kosa's message here, but here on this, if to my point I was saying before about Shula, that if Andy Reid wants to crawl any closer to our esteemed Don Shula's record, then his team better beat the Broncos this upcoming weekend. Amen.
That's
Amen.
nice.
Amen.
And nobody thought the Giants were going to beat the Colts, and so that nobody thinks the third-string Kansas City Chiefs can beat the Broncos, but that's why they play the game.
Absolutely. So hopefully Beard is still around so he can do his victory lap, his pick and league rankings. Oh, 1 week to go on the Pick and League rankings for the coveted Pick and League Championship ring. Boy Vince at number 10, Simon Lee's at number 9, Lou from there number 8, Sean Stanley will go show number 7, and my video just stopped, so let me see if I can. There you go. Let's do it again. That was Bearded. I'm pretty sure about that. There's Bearded. There you go. Bearded, I'm ready for you. Let's do it again. At number 10, Bobby Finstock. At number 9, David Leaks. At number 8, Lou from Day. At number 7, Sean Stanley will video show. Number 6, Sherry Allen. Number 5, The A-Train. Number 4 is Lee Hallen. Number 3, Vin Trooper. And number 4, The Apprentice Society. Number 1, Bearded Fanelli. Hopefully, Bearded enjoyed that kind of push, So we want to thank the over 800 Dolphins fans joining us tonight. Our season finale next week. We'll see. Still a lot riding on the last game of the season, so decide. Steve and I will decide probably what we're going to do for next week. We're going to have finally the trial of Chris Greer. And decide
if it has to be unanimous, we're going to have a problem with this guy over here.
Yeah, I don't. We'll talk about that because we know he's the defense attorney, so he doesn't have a vote. So we're probably going to leave that to the Dolphin station. They're going to do their arguments, and people's going to decide at the end of the day what's his faith for Chris Greer. So again, thank you all, Dolphins fans. The over 800 Dolphins fans across our platforms. We're going to see you next week. Hopefully, the Dolphins get a huge win this Sunday, and we get another week. So without any more, always remember that we say Miami, just look at Super Bowl. Fins up.
Fins up, y'all.
Happy New Year. Stay safe.
Thanks for watching Fins TV. Please like and subscribe.